The crash. The rain was falling hard. The road was wet and empty, shining under the streetlights. It was late at night. A big red truck moved fast down the lonely road. The driver didn't see her until it was too late. A small figure, weak and slow, stepped onto the road. The sound of the brakes was loud, but not loud enough. The crash happened in 1 second. The truck hit the girl and stopped with a loud screech. The driver got out, looked at the girl, and then quickly drove away. He didn't check if she was alive. He didn't care. She was not human. The girl lay still on the road. Her skin was soft blue. Her dress was white and wet from the rain. Blood mixed with water and flowed down the street. She was breathing, but only a little. Her eyes were half open. She tried to move her hand, but she was too weak. Her body hurt all over. Her chest felt heavy. Her bones were broken. Her heartbeat was slowing down. She was dying. Cars passed by. People saw her, but no one stopped. They looked at her strange skin and strange body and turned their eyes away. To them, she was just another alien. Maybe she was dangerous. Maybe she didn't deserve help. No one wanted to take a risk. So they left her there on the cold, wet road, alone. She tried to speak. Her voice was small and broken. She whispered something in her language. But no one heard. No one cared. Her tears mixed with the rain. Her fingers shook as she tried to pull herself off the road. But she couldn't. Her mind started to drift away. She thought of her home planet. She thought of her little sister, her mother's last hug, and the stars she loved watching. She thought it was the end. She closed her eyes, but then, footsteps. Slow, careful footsteps walked toward her. Someone was coming. She didn't open her eyes. She was too tired. She didn't want to hope. She thought it was another person who would just stare and walk away. The footsteps stopped beside her. Then came a voice, a warm, deep voice, a human voice. "Hey, can you hear me?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. "Oh God, what happened to you?" He bent down beside her. He touched her shoulder gently. She flinched a little. His hand was warm. He checked her pulse. She was alive, but just barely. His eyes filled with worry. He looked around. No one else was there. Just him, the girl, and the rain. He took off his jacket and placed it over her. She was shaking. Her body was cold like ice. He knew he couldn't leave her there. He picked her up slowly. Her body was small and fragile in his arms. She didn't fight. She didn't move. He carried her to his car parked nearby. He placed her in the back seat carefully and covered her with more dry clothes. He didn't care that she was alien. He didn't care what others thought. He just saw someone who needed help. As he drove, he looked at her face in the mirror. She was still breathing, but weak. Her lips were blue. Her face was bruised. Her body was covered in cuts. But even through the pain and blood, she looked peaceful. He spoke softly as he drove. "I don't know who you are, but you're not dying tonight." He didn't take her to a hospital. He knew the system would not help her. They would ask too many questions. They might lock her up or experiment on her. So he drove to a quiet house far from town. It was his place. Safe. Quiet. Warm. He carried her inside, laid her on a soft bed, and started cleaning her wounds. She was still not awake, but she breathed easier now. He worked all night, wrapping her cuts, making sure her bones were straight, giving her water drop by drop. The storm outside continued, but inside, it was calm. The alien girl, left to die in the rain, was now safe in the hands of someone who cared. He didn't know her name. She didn't know his. But something strong had already started between them. A human and an alien in a world that didn't believe in second chances. But he believed, and that was the beginning. A stranger's home. The morning light touched the window slowly. Inside the quiet room, the alien girl opened her eyes. She didn't know where she was. Her body ached, her arms felt heavy. But the first thing she noticed was warmth. For the first time in days, she felt warm. She tried to sit up, but pain shot through her side. She gasped softly and looked down. Her body was wrapped in clean cloth, her wounds had been cleaned. Someone had helped her. But who? The door creaked open. A human man stepped in. He carried a bowl of warm soup and a cloth. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept all night. But his face was calm. "You're awake," he said softly. "Good. I wasn't sure you'd make it." The girl stared at him. She didn't speak. She didn't know if she could trust him, but he didn't look afraid. He didn't look angry. He just looked kind. He placed the bowl on the table beside her and sat down in a chair. "I saw you on the road. You were hurt. Badly. I couldn't just leave you there." She opened her mouth slowly. Her voice was weak and rough. "Why? Help me." The man looked at her with a strange sadness. "Because no one else did, and because it was the right thing to do." Her heart beat a little faster. On her world, weakness was punished. Her people believed only the strong deserved to survive. If someone fell, no one stopped to help, but this human, he had risked everything for her. "What is your name?" she asked carefully. "Daniel," he said. "And you?" She hesitated. "Sira." Daniel smiled. "Nice to meet you, Sira." He handed her a spoon. She tried to eat, but her hands shook. Daniel gently helped her, holding the bowl, so she could sip. The soup was simple but warm. She hadn't eaten in days. Each bite gave her a little more strength. Sira looked around the room. It was small but clean. There were old books, warm lights, and the smell of coffee. It felt safe, too safe. Her body might have been healing, but her mind stayed alert. She didn't know if she could really trust him. Maybe this was a trick. Maybe he wanted something. But as the day passed, he didn't ask her anything. He didn't push. He just stayed close, making sure she was okay. At night, when he brought her water, she whispered, "Aren't you afraid of me?" Daniel laughed gently. "Should I be?" "I'm not human, I noticed," he said with a small grin. Still not scared. She watched him in silence. On her planet, humans were often seen as dangerous, unpredictable, but this one was calm. He didn't try to lock her up. He didn't touch her without asking. He treated her like she mattered. "I thought I would die," she said softly. "You almost did," Daniel replied. "But you didn't. You're strong." Sira blinked. No one had ever called her strong before. Not when she couldn't fight. Not when she ran from her people. But this human looked at her like she had value. He stood up. "Get some rest, you need it." She watched him leave the room, closing the door gently behind him. She lay back against the pillow. Her body still hurt, but her heart felt strange, lighter, warmer. Why did he help her, and why did she care? As sleep pulled her back into quiet, dreams, one thought stayed in her mind. Maybe not all humans were like the stories. Maybe this one was different, and that scared her more than anything else. Her scars, his silence. The next time Sira woke, it wasn't pain that pulled her back. It was music. Soft, slow notes played from a small speaker in the corner of the room. She blinked. The sound was gentle, human. It didn't hurt her ears like the alarms from her world. It calmed her. She sat up slowly. Her arms were stiff but stronger than yesterday. The bandages were still in place. Someone had changed them with care. She looked toward the door. It was open now. She stood, shaky on her feet. Each step felt strange. The last thing she remembered before waking here was the cold, the wet road, the truck. And then darkness. And then him. She followed the sound of the music to a warm kitchen. There, Daniel stood by the counter, stirring something in a pot. He wore simple clothes and had no weapons. He didn't notice her right away. He looked lost in thought. Sierra cleared her throat. He turned quickly but smiled when he saw her. "You're up," he said. "That's good. You're healing fast." She nodded. "Your medicine, it's helping," he chuckled. "No medicine. Just human care and a lot of luck." She tilted her head. "You're different. Most humans wouldn't help." Daniel looked down. Most people, human or alien, only help when others are watching. Silence filled the space between them. Sierra's eyes drifted to the wall. Pictures of people, maybe family, hung there, but there was dust on the frames. Old memories. No recent ones. "You live alone?" she asked. Daniel nodded. "Yeah." She looked away. Her world taught her not to ask questions, but she wanted to know. She needed to understand why he had saved her. "My people left me behind," she said after a moment. "I was no longer useful. I ran." Daniel's hands froze over the pot. "I was supposed to carry messages between outposts, fast and silent, but I fell sick. I got slower. One day they pushed me out of the ship, said I'd only slow them down." She laughed, bitterly. "They were right." Daniel turned and leaned against the counter, his face serious now. "They were wrong." She looked up. "You didn't slow down," he said. "They just didn't care enough to wait." The room grew quiet again, but it wasn't a cold silence. It was a shared one. Something unspoken passed between them. Sierra walked slowly to the table and sat down. "Why do you live here? Away from your kind?" Daniel didn't answer right away. He poured soup into 2 bowls and placed one in front of her. "I made mistakes," he said. "Things I couldn't fix, people I couldn't save. So I came here. Peace and silence seemed easier than guilt." Sierra stirred the soup slowly. "You still saved me." "I couldn't walk away again," he replied. "Not this time." Her hands tightened around the spoon. Her heart was beating faster. She didn't know why his words made her feel something strange, like pain, but not physical, like warmth, but deep inside. Sierra looked down at her arm. A long scar ran from her wrist to her elbow. She hated it. It was a mark of her failure, a reminder of how weak she had become. She tried to pull her sleeve down, but Daniel saw it. He didn't flinch. He didn't ask what happened. He simply said, "You don't have to hide." She froze. Those words, so simple, so soft, cut deeper than anything she had heard before. She whispered, "On my world, scars mean shame." Daniel looked at his hands. "On mine, they mean survival." She looked at him, really looked at him. His eyes were tired but full of life. His arms bore small scars, too. He didn't hide them. He wore them like truth. Maybe he was right. Maybe survival itself was something to be proud of. In that moment, something changed in her. She still didn't trust the world, but she was starting to trust him, and that was the beginning of something she couldn't name yet. Not all wounds are visible. That night, the wind howled outside the cabin. The trees bent and the windows rattled softly, but inside it was quiet. Warm light filled the room and the fire crackled gently. Sierra sat near it, wrapped in a blanket, staring into the flames. She had never seen fire like this, controlled, peaceful, alive. Daniel sat across from her, sharpening a small knife, not to use, just out of habit. He hadn't asked her any more questions. He didn't press her for answers. But Sierra's mind was full. She had never stayed this long in one place. She had never been allowed. "What are you thinking?" Daniel asked after a long silence. She didn't look at him. "That your world is quieter than mine." He smiled a little. "Sometimes. Not always." Sierra touched the side of her head. The memory implants were gone now, burned out when her pod crashed weeks ago. That was when her people left her. All the information she once carried for her army leaders, erased, useless. She was no longer a tool to them, but to Daniel, she was a person. She turned to him slowly. "Why do you trust me?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "I don't. Not fully. But trust starts somewhere." Sierra stared. He didn't lie. He didn't pretend. That made his answer even more powerful. She stood up carefully and walked to the window. Outside, the forest was dark, but peaceful. "I've never been trusted before," she whispered. "Not really. I was born for war. Raised to deliver commands, to run, not to feel." She turned back. "You helped me when I was broken, when I was nothing." Daniel leaned back in his chair. "You're not nothing." Sierra frowned. "To my own people I am." He put the knife down. "Then maybe it's time you stop listening to them." His words hit harder than expected, not because they were cruel, but because she didn't know how to respond. She had always believed her value was in what she could do, not who she was. Sierra looked at her hands. The cuts were healing, the bruises fading, but something inside her still hurt. "I don't know what I am anymore," she admitted. "Not soldier, not courier, not useful." Daniel stood up. "You're alive. That's enough for now." He stepped into the kitchen. She heard him open a drawer, then pour water into 2 cups. When he returned, he handed her one. She took it slowly. "What about you? Who were you before this?" Daniel sat down again. His eyes were quiet, like a still lake hiding deep waters. "I was part of a mission team, rescue ops. We helped people, human and non-human. One mission went wrong. We were too late. A child died because I hesitated. After that, I left." Sierra held her cup tighter. "You ran?" she asked softly. He nodded. "Yes. I ran because I couldn't forgive myself." Silence again. But now it was heavy, full of shared pain. She spoke without thinking. "You saved me." "And maybe that's why," he said. Their eyes met. No more lies. No pretending. 2 broken people, alien and human, finding something new in the space between hurt and healing. Sierra finally said the words she hadn't dared to believe before. "Thank you." Daniel didn't answer right away. He simply nodded. She sat back down beside the fire, her eyes softer than before. The cabin didn't feel like a stranger's shelter anymore. It felt like a place where pain could be understood, not fixed, not erased, but understood. And that was enough. They found her again. The peace didn't last. It never does. Not for someone like Sierra. The next morning felt different. The sky outside was gray and the air was heavy. Sierra woke before Daniel. Her wounds were healing fast now. Human care, food, and warmth had done more than any medbot back home. But her heart was uneasy. Something felt wrong. She walked outside for the first time since she arrived. The forest around the cabin was still, too still. No birds, no wind, just silence. Then she saw it. A black drone, small and round, floating high above the trees, watching. Her chest tightened. Not human technology. This was hers. Her people had found her. She turned and ran inside. Daniel was already awake and looking at the same thing through the window. He didn't say anything. He just nodded once as if he had been waiting for this. "They found you," he said quietly. Sierra's throat felt dry. "They never stopped tracking." Daniel moved quickly now, gathering supplies, checking his old gear. "How long do we have?" "Hours," she said. "Maybe less?" He didn't ask if they should run. He didn't ask if she wanted to go back, he knew already. "You don't want to return," he said calmly. She nodded. "If they take me, I won't survive. They'll erase my mind or worse. They don't let failures live." Daniel didn't flinch. "Then we don't let them take you." Sierra looked at him stunned. "You'll fight them?" For me? Daniel checked the small energy pistol he had hidden deep in his storage. I've fought for less. Her eyes burned with something she didn't understand. You'll die. Maybe. But I've been half dead since the day I gave up helping people. Saving you. It gave me purpose again. I'm not letting that go. Sierra had never heard words like that before, not from her kind, not even from her own family. To them, life was duty, not meaning, not heart. I should go, she whispered. If they find me here, they'll kill you. Daniel shook his head. They'll come whether you stay or not. The drone saw us both. If you leave, you'll die alone. If you stay, we have a chance. He handed her a small blade. Ever used one? She nodded slowly. Yes, but only to run. Then this time, we fight. Sierra felt something stir inside her. Fear, yes, but also something else. Strength. Not from weapons, not from training, but from standing beside someone who believed she was worth protecting. They spent the day setting up what defenses they could. Traps, alarms, backup power. Daniel showed her how to use a comm blocker. Sierra showed him the weak points of her people's armor. As the sun began to set, she stood near the door, gripping the knife. I never asked to be saved, she said. Daniel smiled. I didn't save you because you asked. I saved you because you were left behind. And I know what that feels like. Sierra turned her face away so he wouldn't see the tears, but one slipped down her cheek anyway. That night they waited in silence, not just for enemies, but for what would come next. And both of them knew, whatever happened from now on, they would face it together. The ones who came to take her back, darkness fell slowly, wrapping the forest in deep shadows. The wind had stopped. The night felt like it was holding its breath. Inside the small cabin, Sierra stood by the window, eyes fixed on the tree line. Daniel was checking the final trap, a motion sensor tied to an alert system. Neither of them spoke much. There was nothing left to say. They both knew what was coming, and then it began. The sound was faint at first, a soft hum, but it grew louder, heavier. A ship, not massive but strong enough for a capture mission. Its lights cut through the trees like blades. Sierra gripped the knife tighter. Daniel handed her a second weapon, a small pulse gun. Don't hesitate, he said. They won't, Sierra nodded. She wasn't afraid of dying. She had almost done that once already. But she was afraid of being taken alive. The ship landed just beyond the clearing. Its black metal body reflected the moonlight. The door slid open with a hiss, and 3 figures stepped out. They wore armor, like shadows. Dark helmets, cold movements, no words. Sierra knew them. They were the ones who threw her out, who said she was worthless. Tools of the command. One of them raised a scanner and the green light hit the cabin. They've locked on, Sierra said quietly. They know I'm here. Then we give them a reason to regret coming, Daniel answered. The first blast hit. The door, metal, crashing into wood. But Daniel had reinforced it with steel plating. It held. For a moment. The second blast blew it open. Smoke filled the room. The soldiers stepped inside with weapons raised. Daniel fired first. His aim was steady. One soldier fell back with a cry. Sierra moved next. Fast, sharp. She struck the second one in the side where the armor was weakest. He fell with a thud. The third soldier grabbed her arm. His grip was strong, inhuman. She cried out, but then Daniel was there. A punch, a strike, and the soldier dropped. But it wasn't over. More footsteps outside. Backup. Sierra's breath came fast. We won't win this, there are too many. Daniel didn't stop moving. Then we don't fight to win, we fight to break their belief. She stared at him. Belief? That humans are weak. That you're worthless. That kindness doesn't matter. Sierra's chest ached, not from pain, but from something deeper. All her life she had been told she was only as good as her speed, her memory, her obedience. But now, She was being protected, fought for, not because she was useful, but because she mattered. Daniel threw her a comm device. There's a signal jammer by the stream. If you can reach it, you can block their tracking. They won't follow you. She shook her head. I'm not leaving you. You have to. One of us needs to survive. Tears burned her eyes. You saved me once. Don't make me lose you now. He gave a soft smile. You saved me too, Sierra. You just don't see it yet. He turned and ran toward the sound of more soldiers. And Sierra ran the other way, not because she was afraid, but because this time she ran with a purpose. Through the forest, through the darkness, through pain and memory and rain. Her heart beat hard. Her lungs burned, but she didn't stop. And for the first time in her life, she ran not from something, but for someone. She didn't run alone anymore. The forest was alive with noise. Blasts echoed through the trees. Lights flashed behind her. Sierra didn't stop. Her legs hurt. Her chest burned. But she ran harder. She had to reach the jammer. She had to stop them from finding Daniel again. Branches cut her skin. Mud slowed her steps. But her heart pushed her forward. She reached the edge of the stream just as the last moonlight hit the device. It was buried beneath a pile of wet leaves and old wires. She dropped to her knees and began to work fast. Her fingers shook, not from fear, but from urgency. The jammer came to life with a single hum. The signal went dead. They wouldn't track her anymore. But Daniel? She turned back toward the trees. She wanted to run to him, to help him, to fight. But something moved in the shadows. Her blade was in her hand in seconds. She crouched low, ready. A shape stepped out. Tall, broad, blood on his sleeve. Daniel. He limped forward, holding his ribs. She rushed to him. You're alive, she cried. Barely, he groaned. They weren't expecting someone who fights dirty. She helped him sit by a rock. He leaned back, breathing heavy. They'll send more, she said. Not now, he replied. You shut them out. You did it. She looked at him. Mud on his face, cuts on his arms, and still, he smiled. I was never trained for this, he whispered. She knelt beside him. Neither was I. He looked into her eyes. You could have left me. So could you, she replied. They sat in silence, surrounded by the sounds of night and distant fire. And slowly, Sierra understood what had changed. She wasn't alone anymore. She was never going back to the girl who thought she had no worth. Not after someone fought for her. Not after she fought back. I'm not who I was, she said. Daniel nodded. Good, because she didn't know how to live. They stayed in the forest until morning. The air turned warm. The birds returned. The danger faded for now. They would move soon. Together. Maybe to a new planet. Maybe to a deeper forest. Somewhere quiet. But wherever they went, she would not run alone again. She would walk beside someone who reminded her every day that being saved once was only the beginning. She had survived. She had changed, and now she was ready to live.